ये समस्या आती है।
Correct.
तो जो इंडियन विजडम के जो सॉल्यूशंस हैं या जो उनके जो इंसाइट्स हैं, दे आर होलिस्टिक, based on a problem as a whole, not breaking problem into pieces and trying to understand. That is good for academic study, but for living life, you have to sit with the problem.
Absolutely. And that is the so and उतना बिगड़ गए हम लोग वेस्ट से that everything we want to put in the 2x2 grid.
Yeah.
हाँ,
That McKinsey and BCG have
वो धंधा
ensured
करने के लिए
that
अच्छा है. That is,
बस
for business it is very good because
very good.
you can explain to even dumb people, and
So
people don't need to develop their own intelligence, own insight about
then
it.
we just are followers.
You
And
can
then
exactly.
they don't
हाँ,
expect you to use your brains. 2x2 में डालो खत्म करो.
There's a need, na? There's a need to have everything in a framework, and we cannot think that there can be things beyond the framework, a little eternalist, at times grey.
yeah.
No, most of the time great.
Yeah.
वो फ्रेमवर्क भी डेवलप करेंगे ना बियॉन्ड फ्रेमवर्क वाला, तो वो भी एक फ्रेमवर्क ही होगा. So and the real wisdom or the crux or insight lies into using the framework as a tool.
Yeah.
Because this is what it is. Use this when it is needed, use that when it is needed,
It's a
use that
means
when
to an
that is
end.
more useful, and yeah, exactly. और जब काम खत्म हो जाए तो उसको किनारे रख दो, उसको सर पे मत ढो कि हम जो हैं वो गोलमैन वाले ग्रुप के हैं, हम मेयर और सलेबू वाले ग्रुप के हैं. देयर इज इतना झगड़ा चलता है इमोशनल इंटेलिजेंस का जो बिजनेस है उसमें कि यू गेट लाइक कि व्हाट द हेल इज हैपनिंग.
I give a very interesting experience yesterday. One of the clients asked, do you have an MBTI practitioner? We want to train our managers. That is generally something which I don't do. So I put it in my group and said, कोई हो तो profile दे देना, मैं भेज दूंगा. My job is to only connect. There came a guy's profile, कोई captain army से. He has some 9 certifications. MBTI, FIRO-B, DISC, Hogan, और बाकी 4-5 तो मैंने कभी सुने भी नहीं. I got curious. I went to Google and said, ये कौन से assessments आगे क्या है? And everybody has that alpha, beta, gamma kind of certification: basic, advanced, super specialist, awesome, possum.
Yeah. And this is good for business. Like this is good. Like if you don't want to know anything about the consultant, you look at the list of certification. You have a checklist. You tick, and you hire. Like you are just a cog in the big machine running. But if you want to,
sorry, Vijay. I just sorry.
So, but if you want to run business, then you understand people.
I think I was just thinking that we can wait for a minute or so. We still have people joining in. It's about 8:03. We'll take one or two odd minutes.
Wow, this is interesting. On my computer, it's saying Payamul's note taker. Hi, I am an AI assistant. So in the beginning, it was saying Payamul, and then it was written, "Hi, I am an AI assistant." So I thought कि Payamul ने अपने आप को AI में convert कर लिया.
No, I think last time हमें करना था, हम कर नहीं पाए थे, but this time we've done that.
No, so the idea is that after this, we will put the video as well as the summary notes in the groups. So if somebody sees the summary notes and he or she is keen, then they can go through the whole video.
And last time हम पता नहीं video recording हमने किया, but we could not save that recording somewhere. We all have been finding that recording everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Then we also intend to do one more thing is once we get we are looking for an intern, and once the intern joins, then we'll also create bites.
Yeah.
So if somebody is not very, or to just entice people to listen to the whole conversation, we are saying we will create that 1 or 2 minute clips, and we will. So there will be some questions that will come logically, which are small. Basically, we are trying to take notes. We are trying to do all the things so that. Because the idea is to create a larger repository for a wider audience beyond the alumni group at some point of time.
Yeah. And those things like small clips up to like maybe a minute or 2 maximum, they are very, very good for Instagram.
Yes. Yes.
Because
convert them into reels or shorts or something like that.
It's very good. Yeah.
Great. I think
I can go into that direction, but let's focus on this
No,
task at hand. क्योंकि मेरा temptation बहुत होता है.
we have a road to connect today. We have a journey
Yeah,
to
exactly. Welcome, Akanksha. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Vijay. Thank you so much.
Great. So, good morning, all. And once again, we are here on the Atman Dialogue session 2. Thank you so much for joining in. I know Sunday morning, 8 o'clock at times can be a little of an ask after an interesting week, but definitely, we'll ensure that we have a meaningful hour to spend alongside and an interesting perspectives being developed. Yeah. So Rishi is also a chair of Atman Dialogue as a series along with me. So, we've been mulling over that what is it that we do that, Sunday morning becomes much more meaningful and interesting. And there we saw that, how can we connect Eastern and Western concepts together? And today's topic is towards that, right? Emotional intelligence lessons from Ramayana. Emotional intelligence as a topic, as a body of knowledge, we understand more from a Western world. I think a few minutes back we were talking about that. That we understand things and concepts from a westernized way of a matrix or a structure or a framework, so on and so forth. But I think our scriptures have kind of laid down these lessons ages ago. And here we saw that how can we understand AI a little more deeply, going beyond those 2x2s or those frameworks, etc. Now, in today's high volatile dynamic time, we are very hard pressed, right, in our personal as well as professional lives, and at times it puts pressure on us in terms of uh, how do we emote, uh, and therefore it requires us to connect with ourselves so that we are in a charge of our own emotions, and therefore we are able to channelize it in a right direction. uh, and that's where that's the broad context that we took, that emotional intelligence is an interesting and a required area, as well as qualities that individuals purna purnata from that perspective that we kind of need to have. And therefore we try to understand its application and how do we build about it, what are better ways to understanding it in the backdrop of Ramayana. So that's the broad context, and we have with us Vijai Pandey ji with us. He's an accomplished psychologist, close to 2 decades of experience. He is an accomplished psychologist in the areas of talent assessments, leadership development, org culture transformation, etc. Right? He has a postgraduate degree in psychology, specializing in HR, and has been working across various continents. So, while he holds knowledge, he has kind of seen its application into different continents, different cultures as well. So currently, he leads talent consulting at HSBC, and he's based out of France. Currently, thankfully, he's in India, so that we are all in same time zone, but largely he's based out of France. And he leads the executive succession planning, leadership assessment strategies, etc. In HSBC. Uh, he has worked also as a part in his consulting experience, advising to Saudi Ministry of Civil Service, uh, helping them navigate complex cross-cultural challenges beyond. Uh, Fluent in multiple languages, and here we have Vijay with us. So Vijay, welcome to Atman Dialogue, and thank you so much for joining us for this session. We are quite interested, and towards the run of this session, I was quite intrigued about a lot of areas, and I could actually look at it. And I think today's session and dialogue would be more about unearthing those emotional intelligence lessons that we see in the trail of the entire Ramayana series, or the stories and the narratives and the commentaries that happens alongside. Uh, so let me quickly jump into it, right?
Sure.
And for the audience, please, we've picked up questions as you all had put it in the group. So we've at the best of it, I have tried to collate everything together, but at any point in time, please keep the chat windows on, as was the last time. Please do keep questions coming in, thoughts pouring in. Perspectives are something that we build collectively. So Vijay, here is the first question for you, for the audience, from the audience perspective as well. So, what according to you is emotional intelligence? And when I'm saying emotional intelligence, I want to go beyond the Google or the traditional definition of EI, which I'm sure many of us would understand, and why it is important for our personal professional lives. Some perspectives around that.
Okay, so I'll talk about it experientially. So in most practical terms, experience, the way we see emotional intelligence every day, it is the ability to identify and regulate. So identify emotions in self and in others. So that's the first ability. Once you identify, then you intervene to regulate. So you regulate means, just like gas regulator. What you do, you increase or decrease the intensity of the same emotion. That's all. Now, why do you do that? Because it is conducive to certain objective that you want to achieve. So for example, if your children are behaving bad, a little bit of anger is good because it helps them understand that you are not happy with that and modulate their behavior. So what you are doing, you are regulating the emotion of other, you are eliciting a response by regulating your emotion. Now, if you start shouting too much, then it will not be useful. If you stay calm and cool when children are making bittis, or okay, what is the Hindi word for bitti? Shararat, badmashi. Then it is kind of not useful. So in plain and simple terms, emotional intelligence is like that: identifying the emotion and regulating it in self as well as in others. Now, why do we do that? It's like this. There are two wheels of this life, let's say mental life. To lead it, there are two wheels. One is cognition, that our ability to conceptualize things, ability to understand things, ability to communicate things. And another is emotion. So if you don't develop one, it's like, riding your bicycle on one wheel where the other wheel is not moving, just ghisat raha hai saath mein. So life will become more difficult, more struggle if you use only one wheel. And in psychology literature, most of the time it is targeted one-sided development. When you focus on one thing enhancing, then you don't develop a holistic personality or holistic existence. And therefore, there will be development in one side, but serious lack in another side, which will show. And this is very much visible in modern society. You look at, just from the GDP per capita, if we take that as an indicator of development, though in my opinion it's not very good indicator, but still. So if we look at largest economies, you have affluency, but at the same time you have mental problems. For example, every 10th person, I was just reading 2 days back a report, every 10th person in US is on antidepressant medication. Paris is the city of love, and Paris is also the city of depression. Per capita antidepressant consumption is highest in the world in Paris city. So why it is happening? Why it happens? It happens because we focus on one aspect of life more, which is cognition aspect, and ignore the other aspect of life. So this is why emotional intelligence is important. Like, this is essential component in making your life go smooth. And the same happens if you work otherwise. Like, for example, you don't use your cognitive intelligence and you focus too much on emotions. What you will develop? You will develop a fake empathy, fake kindness, and all that, in which your objective will be to attain power or influence or something, but your persona will be like, oh, you are very kind, generous nature. And we have example of those kind of people also, who have developed emotional intelligence very high, but their cognitive is lacking.
Yeah. I think interesting because the good lens it provides and a simple lens it provides is that EI is more about managing self, or rather managing others by managing own self. That's how I will rather kind of put it a little easily, and so therefore it becomes a little important for us to kind of understand ourselves. Great, thanks for this interesting, I mean, a very simplified perspective on what's EI and all. So coming back to our backdrop, which is around Ramayana. So how what is it that the broad overview could you reflect through Ramayana that illustrates existence of EI through its various characters and narratives at a very broad landscape?
Yeah, interesting. So first thing here, I would say like Ramayana cares a damn about emotional intelligence, because and this is actually also an academic problem which happens, is that there is some incident happened in the past, then a new concept came. Now with the light of that concept, or in the frame of that concept, we try to kind of look at something which happened before. Now the problem is that the thing that happened before was way more robust and big. So it's like, trying to understand the broad, the brihat, with the suksh. It is very difficult. So if you look for terms related to emotional intelligence, you will not find a single one in Ramayana, because it is not about that. But then if we look at the real life problem and how emotions plays a role, and what options we have available to do, you will find empty number of examples. In fact, there is no problem in life for which you cannot find an idea, insight, or solution in Ramayana. So, for example, what to do when unexpectedly your settled life gets whacked? It happens, like people get fired. Rama did the same. He was exiled, living happily, everything was perfect, and suddenly one night everything changed. Now, does it happen today? Yes. And this is why Ramayana is timeless. What happens when the thing that you love most is snatched away from you just in flick of a second? What happens when people who say that, okay, they will be forever for your life, I will live with you, die with you, and suddenly you find yourself alone, struggling with something which is way more powerful than you? What happens then? That feeling of helplessness, the situation that you are in, does it happen today? Yes, it always happens. Does it happen that your loved one are living very, very far from you and you have to somehow communicate? Does it happen that you have to communicate a message of a tender feeling to someone, with someone who you don't want to kind of, let's say, if you have to ask your child to go and say that you love your spouse, how you say that? Does it happen today? Yes, it happens. So all the situations of life, if we look at like that, it happens. It is, in that way Ramayana is timeless, because Ramayana, it's an external story in form of written scripture and all, but the Ramayana is happening inside us all the time. The Hanuman is inside us all the time. And this is why, like, the divinity of Ram is inside us all the time. And we can invoke that divinity. That's what we do when we do puja. We invoke the divinity. So we can always go back to Ramayana, looking at our current circumstances, and look for insights, advice, or simple action points of what to do. And it depends upon your nature. Like if you are more Gyan Margi, you will look for insight first. If you are more Bhakti Margi, you will look for some kind of consolation, some kind of stronger motive first. If you are a Karma Margi, you will look for action points. What should I do? And we have all kind of character in Ramayana. Like we have Jamwant, who basically, okay, let's sit and think. We have Lakshman, who said that, okay, big finger to all this. Let's just go and kill. We have Ram, who says that, okay, aisa hi karab dharahu mandhira. That's what he said to Lakshman, when Lakshman said that, why can't we just go and kill Ravan and everything will be perfect? Ram said that, have patience. We will do it. And we will do the way you want. But there is a process, there is a method to do, because it's not my fight. It is the fight of the whole world. And as an organizational leader, when you make it not as your fight, not as your objective, your target, but the target of the whole organization, you will have a different quality of life in your organization.
Yeah. So in your reflection and study of Ramayana, any specific situation that you felt was like the pinnacle of emotional or exhibition of emotional intelligence? Any such kind of a, I'm sure you would have
Yes.
many, but if you have to point down
Yeah.
one, what would that situation be?
Yes, and this I use it a lot as a question. Like, think about it. Why a person like Ram did not cry when he was snatched of everything and he has to go into jungle? And why did he cry when his wife was taken away from him? Why did he cry when his younger brother was, got that Shakti? you know and this is what we see in life. Like, people say that, mature people don't cry, this and that. And he did not cry when everything was snatched away. It was the biggest thing. Like, what is a bigger pain, that everything is taken away from you, or let's say your wife is taken away? What is bigger pain? you know and if you look at in today's time, people take this ekangi view, means either you cry or you don't cry. So for me, the biggest lesson in Ramayana with regard to emotional intelligence is that you have to look at you, like person and the role, and the person in the role. So whenever Ram has to face something which was related to role, he faced it with very kind of what we call it cool and composure. But when it is about interpersonal relationship, there he behaved like a human being, behaved like a man. Okay.
Yeah.
So when Rama was exiled, it was not an interpersonal situation. It was a role-based situation, because there was a king who offered a boon to someone. And then Ram was just a party to it. It was not against Ram. And that's why he did not get angry on Kaikeyi also, because it was not against him. It was not personal. But when his wife was taken away, it was personal. But now what people do, promote, but they don't cry when their son, let's say, is admitted in the hospital or goes well. So when personal, people don't cry. When it is, role-based, people cry. So this basically gives a very good kind of insight into when to express emotion, where to express emotion, and what kind of emotion to kind of express. So desh, kal, and paristhiti. So for me, it's a very, very good example. If you are playing a role, then you play to the demand of the role. When you are being a person, you be a person, be a human being. And that's what he did. Like, he, being a divinity himself, and that the same divinity is in all inside us. So for me, that was the biggest lesson. Like, the person, the role, and the person in the role, how to conduct yourself. That's why he's called Maryada Purushottam.
I think, when I was reflecting, because most of the time I was also reflecting that, how, what was this element of his conduct, and one situation that, and towards the preparation of Atman Ramayana, when I was going, I was completely blank. So I thought that, let me just study a bit of Ramayana so that I don't look like an out of world kind of a person. So I was studying, and this very situation still kind of resonates and is there in my mind, where it says, the commentary says that, when Ram, Sita, and Lakshman were about to, go to the exile, a night before, I think, and when Bharat comes and Bharat brings along all the mothers and everybody together, uh, and so that he could kind of ask Rama to not go. And however, when Rama saw everybody, I think it is there or when they returned back, I'm not sure when it was, but Rama touches Kaikeyi's feet first,
Yeah.
instead of Kausalya's feet.
After
And
coming
for
back
me,
from exile,
coming back from
take his
exile,
feet
and
first.
for me, I think that was the exhibition of humility, awareness, and regulation, all of it together. Because while he was aware that Kaikeyi would be cursed for her entire life and for the rest of the history, that what she did with Rama, but was it for his own awareness that he ensured that at least her son would continue to respect, and she would not lose that face. I think that for me was a very interesting lesson of understanding self, others, the entire environment, and therefore my conduct towards that.
And for me, it comes from a very clear understanding of what is mine and what is not mine. So for example, if someone did something and that has impacted me, I should not take it personally. I should take it me being in that situation. It happened to me. It was not against me. And when this kind of vision, or let's say this kind of insight, comes into life, there are many things that happen to us. They are not against us. So if someone is, let's say, going, we are walking, going in the car to the airport, and someone comes and honks behind, we get irritated. But the thing is that that person is not doing against, the person doesn't even know me. He is reacting to his own situation. And if we understand it from that perspective, what we will feel towards the person? We will feel a sense of empathy or sympathy, right? Either we will feel pity on that person, or we will feel something like, okay, the person must be in trouble, must be rushing, must be in a bad situation. And then we will not get angry on that person. We get angry because we think that it is happening against me. Whereas in that person's head, I'm not even there. He doesn't know me.
Right.
And when we develop that perspective and start looking at things, how many things are actually happening to us, because I'm there in that situation, and how many things are actually happening against me because someone is trying to do against me.
Right.
Then our emotional response will change. And I think almost 80% of the problem comes because we take too much things on ourselves which do not belong to us.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting perspective because
बॉस
it's a
अपनी
shift
बीवी से झगड़ा करके आया, मेरे ऊपर डांट दिया, तो हमको लगता है यार मेरे को डांट दिया, अरे मेरे को नहीं डांट दिया, वो अपने आप को एक्सप्रेस कर रहा है बेचारा, फ्रस्ट्रेशन उसका कहीं और नहीं निकल पाया, तो हम आई वाज हैपन टू बी देयर, दैट्स ऑल. And when you think like that, you will feel actually, either some sense of sympathy or empathy with your boss. You will not feel angry.
Yeah. I try to put it a little in a little again, Anna, trying to layer it out. It's a change of mindset, and it's not an easy one, because it's like the example that you gave, right? Honking wala. So a one mindset or a reactive mindset would say कि वो horn बजा रहा है मेरे पे, or he's honking on me or she's honking on me. To say, which is a responding mindset, which says that I am getting irritated because of somebody's honking, which is where I am taking the charge of that emotion of irritation, and not putting it out on somebody else, that I am getting irritated because they are honking. Rather, I am getting irritated because there is a honking happening. I think it's not an easy one, but I think everybody has their journey on. And then let's try to de-layer it further. So you said in the beginning of it that emotional intelligence got to be looked at from two angles. One is about self and about others. So let's try and now delve a little deep in the knowing ourselves, managing ourselves part a little more. What lessons do you draw from Ramayana that teaches us about recognizing our own emotions? Any thoughts around that one?
Well, almost all the characters of Ramayana, almost all, are aware of their emotion. There are some characters who are not aware of their emotion. They don't, like, there is no evidence that they looked into their emotion. They did not report anything back. But Ramayana puts a very interesting aspect that awareness is not enough. For example, Ravan was very much aware of his emotion. He was very much aware of his attraction towards Sita. He was very much aware of his need for power. He was very much aware of his self-centeredness, of considering himself as the center of the universe. When he says that, who is the greater sacrificer than me, when the matter came about having patience and sacrifice. So he was aware, but just the awareness is not enough. When you follow, let's say, your greed, your passion, your need for power, or anything which is not in line with your role, not in line with your dharma, then it is a problem of basically emotional regulation. So there were few characters who were not aware, but those examples are always given in less than human type. For example, when Jatayu was, he did everything, but he did not say a single word related to reporting his emotions. He says he saw and he acted. So what is important here is that the lesson that I draw from it is that you look at your emotion and you ask yourself, the thing that this emotion needs, is it in line with my dharma, my duty, my role at this point in time? And then you take an action, and you take a aware action, you take a conscious action. If you don't take that, then despite having all the power, might, and all that, you will end up being a bad person. So Ravan was not just a bad king, he also ended up being a bad person, a symbol of evil, despite having all the knowledge, all the power, all the wealth, and everything. So understanding what the emotion that is arising in you, what is the need for it, and then aligning that with your duty, with your dharma, is the lesson that I draw from Ramayana.
Okay, great. Specific instance that comes up, which actually became a very pivotal in the entire story of Ramayana towards happening, was how did Rama handled that entire piece around exile from coronation. A day prior, I was to get coronated as a king, and the next day, the entire life changes, right? What does this entire demonstrates about self-awareness and emotional balance? If you have to kind of correlate a Western construct on while I understand that you said that Ramayana happened way long and may not have happened because of or an underdrawing EI, but I think from the story, what are some of the tenets of self-awareness and emotional balance that we can draw?
Yeah. So here I have a little conceptual problem with the word emotional balance. There is nothing to balance. Okay. This whole idea of balance is basically a बिजनेस आइडिया. ये बनिया का आइडिया है कि वो एक तराजू लेके बैलेंस करते हैं. There is nothing called balance in life. There is never balance achieved. And if you go for achieving balance, it is guaranteed, मैं लिख के दे सकता हूं, you will always be in misery. What we should strive for, instance, is integration, assimilation. And there is a big difference between balance and integration. In balance, you have seen that nut who is trying to balance. वो balance बन भी जाए तो भी टेंशन लगी रहती है कब balance टूट गया. But when you are swasth, when you are situated in yourself, then you assimilate, you integrate everything. And that's what Rama demonstrated. That's what Hanuman demonstrated. Hanuman had all the power to take Sita back. And he said to Sita that Abba hima tumay jayung lawai, Prabhu aya sunahi ram duhai. I can take you right now, but my Lord has not given me that permission. And then he said, Kachuk divas janani dhar dhira, kapin sahit ahi hai raghubira. So please have patience. Ram will come with other people, kill these demons, and then take you. And this is what we should do. We should muster our resources, kill our demons, and liberate the thing that we love most, which is captured by the greed and ahankara. So that's the story. Like for me, it is a psychological story. It is a story of inner psychological life as well, as much as it is an external story. Because I was, thanks to Srini, last time he introduced me that there are some people who have written the book, which basically collects all the evidence of planetary positions and proves that these things are not just stories. They are having a real correspondence in the Western timeline also.
Yeah.
We can talk about some idea of time also. Maybe in this session it is important to address this idea of time, but that will go into another track. So the main point I'm coming back to it is that integration. You integrate. So there is a self that you as a person, which is all evolving all the time. Okay, and then there is you in a role, which is your dharma, and your role is decided based on not who you are, but where you are situated. So you are born in certain family, you get family dharma. You you choose certain occupation, or you are thrown into certain occupation, you have your work related dharma, and you are living in that complex network of your dharma, your duties. Now, how much of that you integrate? And this is the whole story of Ramayana, integration
of that.
and this is demonstrated. Ram being facilitator of that integration. So the story is that there is a divinity inside you, there is a Ram inside you who facilitates that integration. And if you want to learn how to integrate yourself, just look at Ram. Look at how he behaved, look at how he thought, look at what he said, how he talks to Sugriv, how he talks to Bali when Bali asked him, okay, why did you kill me? You could ask me, I could have brought Sita just like that. So Ram told him that it is not about your power. It is about your attitude. It is about because you did something which was highly against the dharma. And that is why you deserve to be killed. Same way, he could have just killed Ram like that, but he did not do that. He chose to follow a path of a commoner because that's what he was in that role. And he demonstrated to the world that no matter where you are, you can always muster up the resources which are around you and achieve your objective.
Right.
So despite being divinity, he did not invoke divinity. And that for me is a big lesson in kind of struggling with the problems of life. Whenever you are in problem, anything, look around what resources you have available. Look around your friend circle, the money you have, the house you have, the spouse you have, the people you have around, and then muster resources from there, gather resources from there and put them into target, put them to achievement of that objective, liberation of your, the thing that you love most. So that's the main lesson, integration, mustering resources, and then putting into a direction to achieve something.
Great. At this, I'll just take a quick question, an interesting one. Vishaka is asking that, Hanuman is often quoted as symbolism or epitome of bhakti. How would you translate bhakti in terms of an emotion?
Well, bhakti encompasses emotion. It's a broader term than emotion. Because emotion, and let me just go little etymology, because I love etymology, and I think it is important to understand. The word emotion comes from the French word émotion, which means move, and it comes from a Latin word émover, which basically means movement. So the same word, that motion and emotion, come from the same word. Okay, it says basically that which moves. Now, practically around 1800, this word was defined to have three components. So emotion is a psychological state with three components in it. One is a cognitive component, that there is something happen, like there is something moving. Then there is a physical component, that your body has some sensations. So each emotion has a place in body. So if you look at anger, what happens when you get angry? Your arms, they flare, your head gets little burnt type, and your body gets activated. What happens when you're happy? So what happens when you're sad? Your body doesn't get active, it gets passive. What happens? You are in fear. So there is a corresponding bodily response, so a physiological response. And then there is some action or expression. So these are the three components of emotion. Okay. Now, bhakti. Now, bhakti is a way of living. So in Indian tradition, we have three ways of living: Gyan, Bhakti, and Karma. So Gyan is a way of living when you put, let's say, the cognition or understanding of things around you as the leader, and then everything follows. So then you are Gyan Margi. Bhakti is when you look at whatever is good for the humanity or good for it's very close to the idea of love, basically, when your focus is not on yourself but as on others. And the best definition of love which I have found is that when your focus is totally directed to other and not self, you are in love. So it has nothing to do about interpersonal attraction. It is a state of being when the focus is someone else. Same happens in bhakti. So in bhakti, your focus is on collective good, common good, rather than your personal good. Your focus is on collective understanding, common understanding, rather than your personal understanding. Your focus is on, let's say, welfare of everybody, welfare of other people, rather than your own welfare. And sometimes you end up neglecting your own welfare because you are on a path of bhakti, and it's not deliberate. It happens as an outcome. Okay, so bhakti is a broader concept, which is basically a way of life. Same way karma. In karma, you say, okay, I am not going to apply either my reason or my emotions into understanding and living like that. I'm just going to do what is the demand of my role. So if I'm let's say an accountant, I will just do those activities which are needed to be done. I'll do it to the perfection, and that's all. And then everything else is subservient to that objective. And everybody has a nature, like in the sense that everybody is more inclined by birth to one of these areas. Yeah.
Okay,
and also bhakti is not about being let's say totally lost. Being totally lost is an outcome of bhakti. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting perspective. Great. I would want to pivot to the next part, which is around, while we understood managing self, how do we manage others? So, any of specific character of Rama, and that you, in your view, strongly personifies understanding of others' emotions, that you thought that it is there, and what could we learn from that?
Yeah. You take any character of Ramayana who is
But if you
admired
have to
as,
point down one character, what would that be? And yeah,
we can take any, we can take Sita, we can take Hanuman. Actually, Hanuman is the biggest example of managing others, because
okay,
he did not only he managed people down him, he also managed upward. That we call as upward management, like how to manage your boss. Hanuman managed Ram very well. He, हाथ जोड़ के भैया मैं तो आपका सेवक हूँ. He managed Ram to the extent like nobody else. He could get everything done. And so Hanuman is the big example of managing both, managing people who are superior to you and managing people who are subordinate to you. Now, what is the crux of that? The crux of that is interpersonal relationship, understanding people and their situation that they are in. So Hanuman demonstrated at multiple places in Ramayana, Hanuman demonstrated a very solid understanding of where is Ram, what is his strength, what is his weakness, what is the situation that he is in. And then he demonstrated the same understanding with Sita, like before talking to anything to Sita, what he did when Sita was aggrieved and he saw that in pain and all. He did not come and jump and say, let me rescue you. What he did, first he dropped that mudrika. So he did a little action which basically distracted Sita from her own, inner world. And that's what you do as a mentor, as a coach. Like when person, your coachee comes and crying and all and sitting there, you don't try to kind of console and rescue. This is what we are taught in modern psychology. Like you don't try to console and rescue. What you do, you drop a little thing which will distract the person from it and give a new perspective. So he dropped that mudrika. And then what he says, he first says that there is possibility. So he said, there is a possibility. And then instead of kind of making the person reliant on you, you say that there is a process, there is a method of doing it. And you get that person into that action. What was most important action for Sita at that time? Patience. Because given the demand of the situation, it was not only about Sita, it was about the whole, let's say, dharma or duty of king to punish the person who did the bad thing. So what the person who is in that situation like Sita is, need to have patience. And that's what he basically did.
Okay. Yeah.
So interpersonal, like connecting with the person, like the lesson that I draw from it is that connect one-to-one. So if you are a manager, connect with your staff one-to-one. Spend time with them. Try to understand their situation, where they are from. What is their struggle in life? And then, provide the task, as per their ability or as per their interest. So for example, there were many banners in Ram's army who could have gone to Lanka, but he sent Hanuman. There were many people who could have, built the bridge, but he used the collective thing to do this.
Right.
Why did he do that ritual? It is because a collective sense of empowerment should emerge in a, let's say, lower species. So at somewhere we are all monkeys. How can we evolve to human being? By doing that collective work. So no one person, even if one person can do it, the person should not do it, because then if happens like that, then it develops into the dependence. So as a coach, as a manager, even if you can help the person, if you can rescue the person, you should never rescue. What you should do instead is drop a hint, give a broader picture, and engage in some ritual. So if you are a team manager, create some rituals around collective work, collective responsibility, collective achievement. And that way, you will, let's say, you will have more healthier, mature and better organizations.
Yeah. Great. There's an interesting question, and Shrini is now kind of pushing us to think a little more. So, who is the biggest failure on litmus of EI in Ramayana? Any thoughts?
Yes, biggest is of course Ravan, because he had everything. which any great character in Ramayana could have. So he had everything. He had knowledge, he had power, he had influence, he had everything. What he did not have is the ability to regulate his emotions. So when he felt greed, he behaved like greedy. When he felt ambition, he behaved like a highly ambitious person. He disregarded the realities of the situation. So for me, he was the biggest failure.
So therefore,
And
would
why I'm saying he's biggest, because he has everything else. Like there are other failures, like for example, Kakei. Someone wrote that, GD, Kakei. Easily got influenced by mantra and carried away. But then Kakei, for example, for me, she's not biggest because she did not have other powers. She was a warrior. Kakei was not a kind of, housewife, in the sense that her job, as what she was trained in warcraft. She accompanied Dasharath in wars. So she was as, let's say, proficient in warcraft as many other warriors of her time. However, she did not have that, great power, influence, or knowledge that Raman had. So yeah, Kakei was also a failure, but biggest failure as per me was Raman. And
would you say that Ravan was a proper antithesis of EI? And again, I would want to kind of give a contrary view to that as well, because in some of the readings, it comes across that Ravan was aware of the entire prowess, power of Rama, and in fact, he orchestrated his own death with the hands of Rama so that he attains an ultimate moksha. So now, if I kind of look at that, then how would Ravan be an antithesis of EI? Because it again comes from a very deeper level of self-awareness, and he himself is kind of orchestrating, right? I mean, if I just look at it, if I just change the vantage point from where I'm looking at it, it completely kind of changes.
This is very, very interesting question. I'm so glad that you asked this question, and this is where a big difference between East and West. So I will put it in Western concept because most of us are trained in that. In Western idea, let's say Western epistemology, there is a thought that you cannot, like a problem can be analyzed at different level of analysis. So when we look at one level, things which are contradictory, if you look from other level, they assimilate. And this has been the Indian thought. So at one level, Ram and Ravan are enemies. But another level, they are not enemies. They are one. Ram and Ravan are one. And the same thing happens in us. Like at one level, Ram and Ravan are very antithesis. But another level, both are inside us, both are us. So we have a Ram and Ravan living in us at the same time. And it is at that level where the Ravan, like we should, let's say, we should plan for the Ravan in us to be killed with all those things, like all the family, so that it can be assimilated at a higher level with the divinity. That's what happened. So if we look at the other level, then everything is one there. This drama of emotions and cognition and reason and behavior and karma and dharma, it happens only at the level of the world, day-to-day living. If we move up from day-to-day living, then there is no dharma, no karma, no emotion, no cognition. Everything is one. Everything is that one existence. In the same way, like if we look at in today's situation, Israel and Palestine are, enemies, arch enemy of each other. But ultimately they are one. They are part of one humanity. And in order to resolve the, long-standing problem, if the perspective is changed to that one humanity one, it will dissolve.
Yeah.
So that's for me, that's the crux of the story when it says that you can achieve, like, for example, let's say you have greed, high greed. Let your greed live through. Do everything as per your greed. And one day what will happen? The greed will dissolve. But the problem is that people don't even live their greed. थोड़ा सा जिएंगे, फिर उनको लगेगा कि नहीं यार हम गलत कर रहे हैं, वी शुड नॉट बी लालची. अरे लालची हो तो पूरे हो जाओ ना. अगर पूरे लालची भी हो गए तो भी मुक्त हो जाओगे, पूरे अहंकारी भी हो गए तो भी मुक्त हो जाओगे. लेकिन है अहंकार और उसको दबा के परोपकार में डालेंगे, अंदर से अहंकार है और ऊपर से परोपकार का लबादा ओढ़ लेंगे, तो मुक्ति नहीं है. So that is why रामायण also shows कि रावण हो तो पूरे रावण बन जाओ, मुक्त हो जाओगे. बट पूरे बनना होगा, पूरा फैमिली के साथ, सबको पूरा, मतलब कुछ में कुछ छोड़ना नहीं है फिर कि नहीं ये थोड़ा सा अच्छाई अपनी रख लें. नो.
Interesting. And I like what you said, that it's the facets that are within us. There is a Ram, there is a Ravan, both are within us. And I think that unification, it might be a very difficult concept for West to understand, because in its totality, right? But yeah, it in an Indian scripture, as much we go deeper, we try and kind of look at it in the beyondness and the vastness of its own self.
Some Western philosophers have tried to look into, like, for example, Hegelian dialectic. So Hegel tried to look into it. Nietzsche has written a lot about it. Like he has written like Beyond Good and Evil. That's amazing book. And he talks about two kind of morality: the morality of masters and morality of slaves. And he talks about transcending the morality when he says that God is dead. The idea of Nietzsche saying God is dead is that, can we have a morality without divinity? And this has been my biggest quest also. Like, let's say, can we have Ved without divinity, without the idea of divinity? Can we have a moral system without the idea of divinity? And if you can have a moral system without idea of divinity, that will be the penultimate of human evolution.
Yeah.
However, an idea of divinity is needed in order to do everyday life in a harmonious way. Because if you do not have that idea of divinity, then all you have left with is anarchy. And that is not going to, like, it doesn't work at societal level, at a collective level. It works very well at individual level. So as an individual, you can live without the idea of divinity in your life, and you can live a very pious, like, let's say, admirable life. You can live a very satisfying life.
Yeah.
But as a society, as a collective being, there is always, good and evil, and there is always a integration of good and evil, where good and evil both dissolve. And that is the story that has been in Ramayana. That is the story that has been in Mahabharata also. Arjun asked when he reached the heavens, Arjun asked कि दुर्योधन यहाँ पे क्या कर रहा है? तो what he was explained कि भैया तुम जिस दुनिया से आए हो उस दुनिया के नियम यहाँ नहीं लगते. दुर्योधन ने जो किया था उसका दंड उसको वहां मिल चुका. Now it's a different world
altogether. Yeah.
Yeah. And look, what people do is that कि किसी ने बचपन में कुछ किया तो उसको जीवन भर कैरी करते हैं. Just yesterday I was in a group and there was someone talking about experiences. Because I was raised by a strict father, I developed this anal tendency of being very strict with the rules and systems and process. And I asked that person, your father, when your father died 30 years ago, why are you still carrying your father in your head? And what is stopping you now? So, when Mahabharat ki ladai khatam ho gayi to khatam. It's like, then it's a different world. In the same way, once, let's say, you were oppressed and your oppressor was there. Now your oppressor is not there. You have moved on in life, but you are still living in the shadow of the oppressor.
Yeah.
And that is the problem. This is and this is where the emotional intelligence can help, because all these things are related more to the domain of emotion than to the domain of cognition. Knowledge wise we all understand कि जो बीत गया वहां नहीं रहना चाहिए, but how to practically do that,
Practically bring it
that
about.
is the struggle, or that is the let's say the path.
I have one last question before we kind of open it out for the audience for any thoughts, interactions. So, you've been practicing across various different cultures, Western, Eastern worlds as well, right? However, traditionally, modern day leadership development and the practice and the construct are more looked from a westernized concepts, right? How do you see role of ancient teachings like Ramayana and others, or Eastern philosophies evolving towards developing these qualities? Because as much we've started looking at it, but how much, maybe couple of things. How much is the acceptance towards of these teachings in different cultures, and how much of the application relevance that you see into those?
In fact, if I look at the current state of the art in leadership development, it is largely Eastern. So currently, the leadership development always talks about mostly Eastern concept, but they talk with little Western label. For example, they will never talk about vipassana. They will talk about mindfulness. No, they will not talk about, like, for example, Daniel Goleman, if you look at his how to develop emotional intelligence, and his suggestions are: sit with the problem, sit with your emotion, meditate, and then let the solution emerge and follow a ritual. That's what he says all the time in all his talks. And this is what has been the ancient wisdom, is that whenever you have a problem, sit with that problem. Stare at the problem. Look into the eyes of the problem. Do not try to kind of evaluate it, analyze it, run away from it. Just sit with it. And that has been the Indian tradition, is that sit with it. And then a solution will emerge out of the interaction between you and the problem. And at one level, the problem will just dissolve. And that's what happens in most challenging situations, in terms of, when we have biggest dilemma in life and decisions. If you sit with that for some time, do not try to evaluate it, do not try to blame, just see it in its totality. It dissolves and a solution emerges, which takes you to the next level, and next level of problem opens up. And then the cycle continues, and one day you realize कि ये तो सब चल रहा है ऐसे, and then you separate yourself from it, and that's the moksha.
Yeah.
But it can be done only through total involvement.
Yeah. You see a lot of relevance.
And this is the leadership lesson of today. For example, when we talk about, like, for example, in leadership development, most of the time what is happening in leadership development is that they are saying, okay, learn to control your breathing, breathe rhythmic. They call it, this is funny, like Corn Ferry put a advertisement with regard to leadership development program, and it was, the first step was, we will teach you rhythmic breathing. And what was rhythmic breathing? Pranayama. So everybody is doing that actually currently.
Yeah.
And Corn Ferry is also one of our vendors. So I was saying कि मतलब इसको प्राणायाम क्यों नहीं बोला? Why didn't you call? And I talk to Corn Ferry every week. So मैंने उनको बोला कि like, why did you call it pranayam? तो मैं बोले उसमें थोड़ा सा ना वो Indian religious वाला आ जाता है, तो we wanted to be secular on that.
Okay, great. I think
Ramayana came. The thing is that the idea of Ramayana came before the idea of secularism came. And this is a big problem. Like when you try to define an existing concept with the new concept, you're always going to mess up and make blunders. But then this is the part of the politics.
Right.
Is that the one who defines always gains the supremacy over the one who is defined. So when the Belgian Gora guy goes to Cameroon and kind of discovers that black people and their heritage and that, and write books about it, then he defines what a black is.
Yeah.
But the black was existing way before that white guy. Black was happy in their world. You know, भाई कौन जाता है? जैसे अभी if you look at it, Indians are going to West. Why? Because West has money, West has better facility and this and that. Do you think Britishers came to India because India was poor and they wanted to udhar? Nobody. They came here because India was rich. Their stories were, going there, and they said, okay, let's go there. In the same way as Indians are doing today, going to America, going to West, this and that.
Yeah.
They are not going to kind of rescue the West out of its poverty. And we are fed up that story that Western came here to basically, liberate India out of poverty. This is rubbish.
Absolutely. Interesting. Great. We have, I know we are on top of the hour, and this topic is kind of intrigued enough that can't be covered in an hour. But I'm sure a lot of perspectives coming in. But we'll open the floor for some interactions, some questions. Any questions, any thoughts, any perspectives anybody would like to share?
Vishak has written an interesting thing, like, because you are not shown the outcome, you won't follow the morality. This is very, very important. Like, in order for the morality to be in practice, the outcome has to be looked at. पूरा morality का idea ही teleological है कि ये करोगे तो ये मिलेगा. But then there is an existence, and this is what Indian wisdom promotes, that there is an existence beyond good and evil. So good and evil both exist at the level of day-to-day life, day-to-day karma. It doesn't exist at the level of existence. At the level of existence, everything is one. At the level of existence, you and your enemy is one. At the level of day-to-day life, you and your enemy are totally different. And it is very difficult idea to accept. Ki how come this shitty, bloody person is me?
Great. Yes. Any thoughts, any questions, anybody? Please feel free to come and join us.
No thoughts or questions? Oh, sorry. Please go ahead.
Sorry, Srini. So thanks for this very insightful session. Just one question. Coming back to that Ravan versus Kaikeyi, is there any relationship because of the authority, between emotional and cognitive? Is it related to the authority that you have? The higher the position, it's more important that you balance both. You balance the EI and the cognitive together. It's okay at junior. I mean, the impact that is created. If I have, if I'm high on
Impact
cognitive,
is the word. Yeah.
Between cognitive. So maybe my understanding is Kaikeyi, the impact that is created by Kaikeyi versus the impact that is created by Ravan is very different in this case. And that is where your answer towards saying that Ravan was Ravan's cognitive was better as compared to Kaikeyi. Is there any relation to that?
Yes, in this, like, I have kind of more of a prescriptive outlook, is that the higher you are in the position of impact and power and influence, the higher moral responsibility you have to achieve that, let's say, emotional maturity or emotional regulation. Because the impact of your emotional deregulation will not only kill you, but it will kill your whole clan. It will kill your whole company. It will kill your whole department. It will kill your whole team. So the higher you are in the ladder of power, the more moral responsibility you have to develop your emotional regulation, your emotional intelligence.
Yeah. Thanks, Vijay. Yeah, very clear.
Thanks. Yashin, you were saying something.
No, I was just wanted to thank both of you. This was a brilliant 60 minutes. There's so many things that we knew as a complex construct. You both made it so easy to understand and so easy to digest. So I wanted to say this was full paisa vasool for me at least, you know,
Thanks to
because
Vijay.
yesterday night I slept at 2, which is very rare for me because we had the foundation meet and greet dinner and all that off food for thought. Came back late,
Yeah.
slept. So 2 o'clock is very, it's as good as good morning for me. Yet I was here and I was like, I knew Vijay is good. You are good, but this was brilliant. Both of you came together and did some brilliant stuff today.
Thanks to Vijay for demystifying this entire concept of AI and probably connecting it with Ramayana. I'm a firm believer of that the learnings are happening at the crossroads of various interfunctions and interrelatedness. And at times those constructs therefore becomes a little difficult to understand because they're very complex in themselves. But the way Vijay, you kind of explained it in a very lucid and a simple way, it made it very easy for all of us to kind of look at it. And therefore now I'm sure many of us would go back and look at when we study Ramayana, we will also keep the emotional intelligence part of it in the backdrop and we'll draw certain lessons out of that. So that was a broader intent for us to kind of continue this quest of curiosity and look at these scriptures through various different lens and kind of build our own perspectives together. So great. Thank
If
you
the
so
group
much.
is agreed, I want to touch upon one topic where I think because also we are recording it and we might make short of it. I think this question is asked again and again about timeless wisdom. And then is it still relevant today? So in this, I want to discuss a little bit about idea of time if the group agrees with that. So is it okay? We can stay for like few minutes?
Oh, sure. Please go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. So the question is like, what is time? If we look at, let's say, let's say Western positivistic science and the idea of time, it is a linear line, a scale. You cannot go back. The arrow of time moves forward. So this is Western idea of time. What is Eastern idea of time? Eastern idea of time is that there is a cycle and there are small cycle, big cycles. So there is time for the earth, which is like one day earth moves, 24 hours, it moves. So there is one time that. Then there is a time which is year. एक साल में move कर जाती है. So it is a different time. Then there is Brahma ka day. You must have heard about, Brahma ka day is way huge. It's basically एक युग बीत जाता है जब ब्रह्मा सोते जागते हैं. तो जब ब्रह्मा सोते हैं तो प्रलय हो जाती है, ब्रह्मा जागते हैं तो सब हो जाता है. Now, why this imagery was created? Just to give us an idea that there are other cycles of time than these two cycle, day and year that we know. In the same way, there are different cycle for different not human beings, but different, biological beings. एक मच्छर जो है पैदा होता है 7 दिन में मर जाता है, वो उसका लाइफ टाइम है. उसके लिए ह्यूमन बीइंग इज इमॉर्टल, right? So when things like Ramayana and Mahabharata and those things are written, they are written for humanity. So the relevance of Ramayana is time is the relevance till the humanity is there. When humanity will not be there, then Ramayana will be irrelevant. So same way, the technological development, there is a time scale of this. For example, we were talking with letters, communicating with, then the tar came, then phone came, and then now we have video. It is possible in near future, in our lifetime, that there will be totally human-like experience of talking. So while talking to Srini, I can actually touch Srini and feel that thing in my brain without physically touching Srini. It is possible. It is coming very soon. What we can do is that just put a glass like this, and then Srini will be there, and I can tap on his shoulder and I'll feel the same feeling. All I need to do is just to sit with Srini, record for 1 hour, and record all my brain into that what brain feels when I touch any, and every time I'll do that gesture, I will feel the same in my brain, and it will not be different from my physical experience. So this is basically a timeline of technological development. But then if we look at psychological development, the need for communication, was it, let's say, less in 4000 BC and more today? The timeline is very, very, very long and slow there. So because Ramayana is written for the humanity, it follows the timeline of humanity. It doesn't follow the timeline of day, year, and mosquito's life. It follows the timeline of Brahma's day. So till the Brahma's day is there, Ramayana is relevant. So this is what I wanted to say.
Great. On that note, I think we are almost on the hour. Great. Thank you so much, Vijay, for sharing your perspectives and bringing a different dimension of understanding emotional intelligence through Ramayana. And I'm sure a lot of us, when we go back, we are going to kind of, mull over it. For the audience, we will again come back next month with yet another topic, yet another speaker. Till then, continue the reflections in the group. Let's collectively make the reflections and build our perspectives together. Great. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you. And thanks for the
Thank you.
opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Vijay. Thank you, Keval.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, boss.
Thanks a lot, boss. Have a great Sunday.
Have a great Sunday. This was really nice, yeah.
Great.
I think only B2 are there, okay?
Yeah.
Then we can gossip. Beyond syllabus.
Beyond syllabus, yes. How was the event? Food for Foundation?
Oh, it was well. It was very well done. काफी late हो गया हम लोग क्योंकि we had this award ceremony के बाद meet and greet.
Oh, okay.
So the winners stayed back, the judges and the presenters. So वो काफी 10:30 तक का dinner रहा.
Wow.
फिर पूरा wind up करके घर पहुंचते फिर वो सब 1-1:30 बज गए. But it was very nicely done.
Very nice. Very nice.
The session was very nicely done. I think both the topic as well as speaker, I think speakers make a lot of difference.
It makes a lot of difference. Absolutely. I mean,
वो आते हैं वो अपना जो thought लाते हैं ना, that defines it.
Right.
Now we need to start thinking, since we've done 2-3 sessions, और कितने sessions के बाद do you think we should open up?
I'm still kind of looking at it because the attendance that we are having is at least the 2 sessions that we have seen is about 2020.
Yes.
So we need to have, and that means even we have our alumni base is about 100-115 here. We are able to tap about 20.
वो हमेशा रहेगा, वो प्रॉब्लम हमेशा रहता है कि बहुत, because there are 140 में genuine होंगे करीब 40. 40 in the sense, genuine in the sense कि those who want to continue this process of journey of evolution.
Right.
बाकी 100 के लिए it was an event in life. They attended, they liked the food, they liked the ashram, they liked my whatever lecture, and they said हो गया अभी ये जन्म के लिए हो गया, अभी इससे ज़्यादा नहीं चाहिए हमको. It's like going to a movie and then forgetting about that movie. ये 40 में से there will be 10-12 people who genuinely want to attend but couldn't attend because like कुछ flight है या कुछ है या भूल गए या whatever it is. Now the only question which I was discussing with the other day with Rishi and Shashi was also कि if we decide to open up, I still want to regulate it in the sense कि I don't want some JNU pseudo secular guy coming in and screwing up the whole mood.
Right.
And then derailing even these 20 people who are like sincere.
Right.
So these 20 who came in are like, they are very clear ki I want to learn, I want to ask. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was telling, even if we open up, we should have some kind of whatever membership kind of a thing.
Maybe through reference of these 20 or the alumni group. We can do it that way only to start with. That would be a
Yes.
good regulation, because our 100, whatever, 100, 140 people, they understand the entire tonality of the thing that we are doing. That could be one good way of.
I think this is very brilliant. I think we should think about it. So let me start thinking on that. One time we can say you can get in not more than 2 or 3 people types.
Yeah.
We should do that and create a larger. So अगर ये 100 लोग कि 3-4 लोग को भी लेके आते तो हम 500 के करीब हो जाएंगे.
हाँ.
500 में से अगर वही से even out of that 500, 10% join, like now what seems to be 140 ka 10% is 14, so around 15% is joining.
Right.
So अगर वो 500 का 15% भी आता है तो there will be 60-75 people.
60-70 people, which is a good gathering.
Which is a good character. उससे ज़्यादा भीड़ भी नहीं चाहिए हमको फिर बैंड
अपने को वो discourse नहीं चाहिए ना, where you have 500, 600 coming up. We want quality.
So that is what was thing. Because I was telling अपना इसको क्या बोलते हैं उसको ऋषि एंड शशि को वही, before we reach the epitome of getting somebody like Nilesh Shok or Ami Ganti, we should be able to tell them at least 100-150 people will be there.
Yeah. Which is, I was also talking to Rishi that only, that before we call any celebrity speakers, we should have confidence that we will have quorum, and number two, a little bit of quality of quorum. I'm not saying कि सबको कुछ पता होना चाहिए, but which is what you said, right? No nonsense questions coming in or something like that should not happen, because that becomes a little difficult to manage. And
इसमें ना let us do that experimentations also कि Zoom में there is that facility of conference.
हाँ.
तो वो अगली बार कभी एक बार ट्राई करते हैं उसको कैसे ऑपरेट करना, क्योंकि कॉन्फ्रेंस में सबसे बड़ा एडवांटेज होता है कि nobody can unmute themselves.
Yeah.
And second is अगर मेरे को पूछना है तो I only have to put in the chat.
And the moderator will moderate.
And moderator has the option to regulate it.
Yeah.
I always पता नहीं मैं Zoom में था कि कहाँ पे था, मैंने वो भी देखा था कि वो जो chat होता है ना, वो क्या बोलते हैं कि it's only seen by the moderator.
Yeah. So, we used it with Microsoft Teams has it. I have seen it in what we call a live event, where you have where there's a mass gathering type of.
Correct. तो उसमें ये ऑप्शन भी नहीं है कि मेरे को दिख रहा है किसी का स्टूपिड क्वेश्चन.
हाँ.
तो उसमें एडवांटेज सबसे बड़ा ये होता है कि कोई अगर बेवकूफ जैसा पूछ भी लेता है, बाकी की दुनिया को पता नहीं चलता है, मॉडरेटर एनीवे इज अवेयर कि एक दो डम क्वेश्चंस आएंगे ना आपको इग्नोर, तो मेरे को कोई बिग डील नहीं है. And that way we are able to put things in a perspective and ask only those things which stay relevant.
Right.
So somebody like Nilesh Shok or even Sridhar, who Shashi is talking now because the Ramayana festival चल रहा है, वो Notes 21 वाला शशिधर.
यशोदीप देवदत्त.
यशोदीप देवदत्त, उससे भी बात हो रही है, और उसने बोला कि मैं तो आ जाऊंगा, मैं करने को तैयार हूँ one day.
He is very good. He is very good. I'm currently listening to him only. उसने कुछ he's done some podcast with somebody, TRS वो रणवीर के साथ किया है.
रणवीर के साथ वो अच्छा podcast है.
बहुत अच्छा. I heard the two, and I think there are another two that are going to come. So nicely he's explained it.
वो पूरा, and he's like Vijay in the sense कि काफी वो लेब्रिन explanations है.
हाँ.
Logical rush, because ये भी IITN है तो उसका भी दिमाग वैसे ही चलता है.
Right.
तो लेब्रिन वाला explanations है. Because my ultimate outlook is, which I've been talking to all of these guys, is कि as and when we decide to do a alumni get together, we should have one of these coming and doing a 2-3 hour workshop.
Yeah.
So that way it will become worth for all the alumni to gang up once again at some place whichever we discuss. कि अगर मैं अपन बोलते सबको कि भैया पैसे डालो और आओ एक बार, तो वो कोई ऐसा सेलिब्रिटी वाला 1-2-3 घंटे का वर्कशॉप करता है, फिर बाकी 2-3 घंटे हम लोग कुछ ऐसे ही हमारे सेशंस करते हैं,
internal panel discussion or something
internal
like
panel
that.
discussions or some workshop like this.
A tabletop.
And then शाम को we have some nice whatever meet and greet. Next day afternoon तक, morning तक सब disperse. So one day के लिए
Right.
everybody will be happy to come down.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure. At least those who are still connected with the subject topic, mulling over it, would be keen to attend.
Would be keen to, and it will be worth for all of us also कि we all gang up once wherever we decide to. तो मैं उसके लिए बोल रहा था कि ये मोमेंटम हम लोग अगर one of the celebrity guys they come they we ask some sensible question, तो उनको भी लगना चाहिए कि this group is worth talking to.
This group is what? There is some more intellect in the group. Yeah.
Correct.
Correct. I think yesterday only Rishi and I we were kind of chatting. There was a list of speakers and all. So, but वही है तो in a short span we'll have to now, or maybe another thing that we can do is March का session के लिए we can try before we directly try for the getting the external audience for a celebrity speaker. March का जो session है, if it is still relatively our managed speaker, can we kind of open it out and try and test it before we kind of just do it?
No, we should do. That's what I'm just the idea of seeding this thought in your head is that
Yeah,
कि start experimenting
experiment कर लेते हैं थोड़ा before we directly
so that at least we will know the do's and don'ts.
yeah कर
So
लेते हैं.
you will be able to tell us कि whenever that June का we are targeting, तो उसके पहले हमको क्या करना चाहिए क्या नहीं करना चाहिए. And I think this is interesting. Let me talk to both Shashi and Rishi. Can we open this forum saying कि Atman Alumni can nominate 2 or 3 family and friend members to be part of this larger group for whom we'll send these invites and we create the whole thing.
Yeah.
तो वो है. Actually we are looking for one general secretary kind of a person. वो आ जाएगा तो ना life थोड़ा easy हो जाएगा. We are not able to get. चल रहा अभी लास्ट कॉल में भी हमारा वही बात हो रहा था कि कोई एक फुल टाइम बंदा या बंदी आ जाए तो फिर उसको ये सब काम दे सकते हैं. अभी क्या होता है ना कि when you are doing so many things टेंशन होता है कि यार ये एक और चीज ले ले क्या, क्योंकि 300-400 लोग हो गए तो साला मैनेज करना इजी नहीं है उनको.
Right.
ठीक है सर. You
Great,
enjoy your
sir.
Sunday.
चलिए,
Thank you so
thank you
much.
so much.
An
Thank you so much.
absolute pleasure to be here. Take care, buddy.
Great. चलिए, bye bye. Thank you.
Bye.